Hello everyone, I have just started working on this MSI graphic card and I have already disassembled it and started testing it. First, when you start working on these graphic cards, never put it in your computer directly when you get it from a customer. First, test the power rails, the 12 volt rail and the 3.3 volt rail. This card came for PC will not boot. So I have tested it and found short on one of those two power rails, the 12 volt power rail, this one. When I tested to ground, it was shorted. I have injected 1.5 volts, 2 amps on this power rail, 12 volt power rail, and what I have noticed on the thermal camera that the GPU is getting hot. So if the GPU is getting hot, that means the low resistance of the GPU when it is in its off state, its resistance go down. So if you test those MOSFETs that are connected to the GPU, you should read almost zero resistance, 0 ohm, or 3 ohms, 4 ohms, like that, 6 ohms, okay? But this low resistance should never arrive to the 12 volt power rails, except if there is one of those MOSFETs is shorted. What I found is when I injected the 1.5 volts in here, the GPU got hot. So I knew that one of the MOSFETs is shorted. I started looking at them under the microscope. I noticed one of them, I have already disassembled it, but this one was abnormal, and there was a solder bubble sticking out of it and touching to this capacitor. Okay, so I said let's start with this MOSFET and take it off the board and test if we still have that short. But the short have gone when I have removed this MOSFET. Here is the MOSFET. This MOSFET is a dual MOSFET in one package. Here is the gate of the first MOSFET, and here is the gate of the second MOSFET, this one. Okay, here is the drain of the first MOSFET, and this big pad is the source of the first MOSFET. And also it works as the drain of the second MOSFET, and those pins in here, the 3 pins, is the source of the second MOSFET. So this drain and source of the first MOSFET should not short together. But if we test with the multimeter, it is shorted. I have got another one from a donor board, the same one, and if we connect those two big pads, it's not shorted. This MOSFET number is SM7320. I will solder this one to the board and I will test it. Okay. Okay, now I have soldered this MOSFET in its place. Let's test if the short came back. Okay, so one probe to the ground and one probe to the 12-volt power rail, and there is no short. This is ground, and this is 12 volts, and this 12 volts power rail. So the short is gone. I will clean this thermal paste and I will put a new one, and I will reassemble it, and we will test it together. Here is the graphic card. I have installed it and it works properly. As you can see, it's the same graphic card with this note. So this graphic card worked, and the faulty item was only this MOSFET. Thank you for watching, and see you in another video.